Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi video. And today we are talking about the Ryu What If story written by Mori Sensei himself for the release of Danmachi's Season 4 Blu-ray DVD. Now, of course, this video will contain spoilers for not only just the What If, but also volumes 16 to 18. So if you haven't read any of those light novels and you don't know what's going on in the light novels themselves right now, please hop off this video, come back once you finish reading those light novels or the What If itself, and then you guys can come in and watch this video. But nonetheless, be sure to leave a like even if you don't watch this video, because it would be truly appreciated, and of course it helps out the channel. And of course, if you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like as well and subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi content alongside Danmachi Battle Chronicle and Danmimo. We are covering everything Danmachi related over here on this channel. And leave a comment down below as well. Let me know, what do you guys think of the What If itself? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Now, the reason why I'm on this page specifically for the Danmachi wiki is that we'll come back to this page later on in the video, but also because the Reddit post actually has some spoilers regarding volume 16 to 18. So that's the reason why I wanted to start off on that section. Now, before we get in, to give you guys an idea on what this What If entails, is that it's basically a story of what if Bell and Ryu got together after the events of volumes 12 to 14 and basically fell in love. What if Bell fell out of love with Eyes and, you know, decided to move on from life and, you know, start a new relationship with Ryu, basically. This is the idea. This is for the Bell and Ryu shippers out there. And trust me when I say this, it's caused a lot of chaos in the community. The Reddit is going nuts with what's happened in the What If story. So we're gonna go through the spoilers, and right now I'm on a very nice collated, you know, What If spoilers Reddit post. Of course, there were two posts primarily. One that had very rough information, which we will actually take a look at after we go through this one. But second of all, you know, this one will at least give us a better idea before we take a look at the very rough post, basically. So of course, you know, like I said, if you don't want to read any of these spoilers, or if you don't want to listen to this, make sure you guys hop off. I don't want you guys to get you know, absolutely ruined by, you know, this video or anything of that sort. So yeah, like I said, be very careful when you're listening in on this video, just in case, because there will be spoilers regarding the volumes from 16 to 18 that haven't aired on anime, in anime format, I should say. So let's take a look at the post from Chrome Shadows first and foremost. Okay, I felt I should make a clear-cut post on this topic before the panic completely sets in from the previous wiki post. Now, basically what happened was that the previous wiki post, like I said, was very rough. It was very lacking in information. It was just a couple of like 2 to 3 liner bullet points, and that was about it. So it was very rough in that regard, and it caused a lot of chaos in the community. So basically, Chrome Shadow over here is making it a much better collated piece of information with a lot more details about you know, about what exactly goes down in the What If. So he says, I'm gathering all the information on this topic that I got from the translator down at Tieba Baidu, who is currently translating this If Part 2. For anyone that can read Chinese and wish to confirm the information with their own eyes, I will leave the spoiler thread linked here. Now, of course, if you guys want to read this post on your own and you want to read it by yourself, I will be leaving a link to this Reddit post down below in the description. Of course, you guys can go and check it out. But the second thing I want to mention as well is that this is a very early translation. Of course, a lot of people are just getting very immediate information regarding the What If. So of course, if you guys want to get more details and of course want to see the final you know, translation and everything, let me know in the comment section down below. I will try and make a second video on this once we get the full-on translation. Now let's take a look at the spoilers themselves. So first bullet point that we see here is that yes, Seer/Freya did accept the relationship between Bell and Ryu, saying if it was Ryu, it was fine, and that she was looking forward to seeing their children. The second bullet point says Bell and Ryu do in fact go to see Estrella and meet the members of the new Estrella Familia. Estrella was looking forward to when they would get married. The third point, and this is a very critical point because this is one of the points that actually annoyed a lot of people in the Reddit. We'll actually be taking a look at the comments of this Reddit post, not the second one, because this is much more complete spoilers. People have a better idea of exactly what goes down. The moment Bell decides to change his thoughts on Eyes and go for Ryu, BELLxRYU Freeze stops working. He gets a total of 5 points around the time of the Goddess Festival and 3 points after a week of dungeon exploration. In the canon, Bell's points increased about 3,400 in total after the events of volumes 12 to 14. In the if, it changes to around 2,000 total points, likely because LF expired midway through. The ending does imply OEBD breaks out of its seal and brings hell to the world, and there is a line saying that they may regret their love but they will eventually meet again. There was a single raw page posted on that part, and here was what I was able to get from it. The side story doesn't tell what lies ahead, but it is certain that unavoidable hardship is about to visit them. No, it's about to visit the world itself. The apocalypse that has just been born kills the horizon along with despair. Many will perish and numerous beings will return. Even the fires of hell seem lukewarm, and the scream of the storm that ignites death echoes eternally. The two might be torn apart. They might regret the emotions that they shared, the events that occurred at that clear blue stream that day, but still, the fairy and the boy will surely meet again. Perhaps it will be in the blue and white garden where they pledge their love to each other, or perhaps in the city where the goddess of justice awaits, or maybe in the old valley where the seal was broken, and then outside the walls of the city of heroes on the plains of dawn. The hero and the boy who must become hero will meet again in the continuation of the side story. And that's all. To me, it feels like it's a bad end for now, as Bell is now much weaker than before, and we do know OEBD massacres many in the world, or massacres many in the world. Massacres, what is massacres? But it does leave a possibility for a change in the future. But for now, the only thing we know is that OEBD is wrecking the world by the end of this if, and what will happen to the world as it's been destroyed may be revealed in a future series. Or perhaps they will fight the OEBD at some point later after its destruction throughout the world. This is the last part of the F, so perhaps in another work. In before Mori Sensei never touches this again and we are left with a bad ending, which is possible as well. So let's take a look at the second iteration, and this is by Abigail Williams. It's actually posted by OK Audience, but this is Abigail Williams on the wiki. Small bits of info on the Ryu what if. Ryu and Bell get together, but BELLxRYU Freeze turns off. Bell goes into the dungeon for a week and only gets 3 status points. Not having BELLxRYU Freeze anymore rears its ugly head. His soul also changes color and is no longer transparent, so Freya stops chasing after him, and so on and so forth. Same thing as earlier. This is a very critical point. We'll talk about this in a second as well, because a lot of people got annoyed by this as well. They go to see Estrella and she gives her blessing to them, but she says she can't wait to see their babies too. It talks about how in the future the OEBD is going to break free and everyone is going to die because Bell lost BELLxRYU Freeze. There's also a line about how they will regret falling in love because of it. So basically, like I said, you know, this one was a lot more rough. It was a lot more basic in comparison to these points, but still it did cause a lot of chaos in the community, and a lot of people were very unhappy with a lot of the points made. Specifically the fact that, you know, we got a Bell and Ryu what if story, but it ended in disaster. Basically one of the most bleak endings ever I've seen in a what if. The second point is people were annoyed that BELLxRYU Freeze turned off, which I don't know why. We'll talk about that first and foremost. And the third point is that his soul changed. Why would his soul change? So I want to address those 3 points and then give you guys my thoughts on this what if in total, and then we'll check out the comments, right? So let's take a look at the BELLxRYU Freeze turning off comment. Now there's a reason why I switched on and I opened up this tab in particular and kept this tab open for us to read through so that we can see the effect of BELLxRYU Freeze. Fast growth as long as the user is in love. The strength of the effects corresponds with the level of the user's feelings. As a side effect, it makes the users immune to charm. Now, I'm sorry guys, but unfortunately, this was always going to happen. If you took a Bell that had BELLxRYU Freeze linked to Eyes, this was always going to happen, wherein BELLxRYU Freeze would have turned off if he fell out of love with Eyes. It is as simple as that. His whole motivation and the reason why he got BELLxRYU Freeze in the first place was because of Eyes. That's about it. It's as simple as that. I don't know why people expected BELLxRYU Freeze to still stay on even after he fell in love with Ryu. It wasn't gonna switch to Ryu. It was linked to Eyes always. That was the whole idea of BELLxRYU Freeze. I know a lot of people felt that, oh, it's as long as the user is in love. No, It's as long as the user is in love with the reason why the skill developed. The skill developed because of eyes, and I want to address that point later on in the video when we talk about the whole Ryu and Bell what if and the way Omori sensei went about this. But basically that's my perspective as well, and I think that's a perspective for quite a couple of the community members. But generally as well, I know a lot of people felt that BELLxRYU Freese should have still stayed on, but that's not how it works. BELLxRYU Freese was always linked to eyes. The motivation was always eyes. Now, I know a lot of people are also a little bit confused by thinking that it's actually linked to Eyes' level more so than anything else, but that's not really the case, because in my personal opinion, the way it's going to go, right, is I know a lot of people are questioning how does it work. You know, Bell is level 4, Eyes is level 6. Sooner rather than later, Bell is going to get to the same level as Eyes, right? And yes, that is true, but the moment Eyes, you know, opens up to Bell a lot more and, you know, goes over her backstory, talks about Albert and Arya, talks about the OEBD, you know, the fact that she was looking for a hero all this while, and so on and so forth. Bell is going to basically get that motivation and dedication to become Eyes' hero. His feelings towards Eyes will multiply tenfold. And again, the strength of the effects corresponds with the level of the user's feelings. As long as Bell's feelings go stronger and stronger for Eyes, the stronger BELLxRYU Freese gets. The weaker and weaker his feelings get for Eyes, the weaker BELLxRYU Freese gets, basically, right? And that's the idea of this as well. The reason why in the the amount he gets is only 2,000 points is not just because BELLxRYU Freese expires midway through. It just weakens to the point of it becoming non-existent as well. So that's the idea behind BELLxRYU Freese. I know a lot of people are annoyed with this point, but that's just how BELLxRYU Freese works and has worked since Volume 1. I'm shocked that people were annoyed about this fact. I don't know why people thought that it was actually just linked to Bell's motivation to get as strong as Eyes. It was his dedication, his admiration, his adoration for Eyes more so than anything else. Now you might be thinking, what about what happened in volume 9 to 11, right? When Eyes had to challenge Bell and Bell had to also challenge Eyes to protect the Xenoses. Well, Bell still loved Eyes. I think it was even mentioned in the volume itself that he'll still love Eyes, but he knows what he has to do, and he knows what he has to do the right way. He has to do everything right when it comes to the Xenoses, and if that means standing up against Eyes, even if he loves her, so be it, basically, right? And that's the idea. He's still in love with Eyes at that point. BELLxRYU Freese won't weaken at that point. In fact, you could argue that it might have even strengthened at that point, you know, of course. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, the second point I want to obviously talk about is the fact that his soul also changes. Now, this I don't have a reasoning for, to be quite honest, because I need to actually see the proper translations and see how it's described as, because frankly speaking, there could be a numerous amount of reasons as to why his soul must have changed, right? Obviously his maybe his motivation switching around, that switch in motivation probably shows how weak he is, maybe going from Eyes to Ryu potentially, or a moment of weakness, you could say. You know, when you fall in love, it's a moment of weakness sometimes, some people would say, right? But also potentially maybe doing non-PG related things with Ryu makes your soul transparent. Who knows? But stuff like that, who knows? Maybe he became very, what's the word? He became a lot more jaded once he realized he's not developing and becoming as strong as possible. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on this front. I don't think his soul would have changed as much, but as long as it's no longer transparent, Freya will just stop, because we know Freya's always looking for the most purest and most transparent soul. Even Eyes, I think it was mentioned as well, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, comments, I don't remember this exactly, but even Eyes actually had a transparent soul, but she had some blackness to her, or darkness to her, which was of course the whole revenge factor and everything, right? The Avenger factor. So maybe it's a similar thing with Bell, basically, where he just has that smudge basically now in his soul that makes it no longer a target for Freya, basically. That makes him no longer a target for Freya. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about basically the ending here. I want to talk a little bit about the ending before we get into my thoughts on this what if and generally what I think regarding Omori's plan with this what if, I suppose, is the best way to put it. The ending, I think, is fair. You know, it shows that yes, it does seem like it's bleak, but there is a positive ending nonetheless. There is still a light at the end of the tunnel with this ending, and it's going to be interesting to see if Omori sensei ever plans on continuing with this in the future. It's possible, actually, for those of you who don't know what's happening in the near future, for the release of Danmachi Volume 19, Omori sensei is planning on releasing a drama CD where Bell travels to the past. It's very possible that that drama CD could actually be a continuation of this, where Bell travels to the past to basically fix everything effectively, right? It's very, very, very possible in that regards. We'll have to wait and see on that front, of course, right? If that is the case. But I do get it. I do get the fact that the OEBD breaks out of its seal and there's just nobody to, you know, save the world. Obviously, Bell is not prepared anymore, all right? He must have barely got into level 5, level 6 by the time the OEBD broke out. Whereas maybe with BELLxRYU Freeze, when the OEBD breaks out of its seal, you know, Bell is at level 8, level 9. I is also in her endeavor to be as strong as Bell and, you know, match his growth if possible, would have gone stronger. Maybe, you know, characters like Otaro and the rest of the Fray Familia would have also aimed to grow stronger because of course, Bell's endeavor to become stronger as well. So in general, because of Bell, the rest of OUTRAGE would have rallied together to basically grow stronger. By what this looks like, right, is maybe Bell and Ryu are no longer in OUTRAGE, it seems like, or, you know, are traveling the world, sort of like a, you know, how the ReZero Rem what if is there, right, where Rem and Subaru get together and go away, basically, right? It's not impossible that it might be something like that. I don't know, but either way, you know, if they are in OUTRAGE for the most part, I mean, it does seem like he's still in OUTRAGE because he goes dungeon exploring still, right? As it's mentioned here, right? But maybe it's not as much as it used to be, maybe, right? He's spending more time with Ryu. It's not as much dungeon exploration and stuff like that. But basically, the idea is that, unfortunately, Bell's growth and the rest of OUTRAGE haven't grown enough to the point where they're ready to combat the OEBD. And I hate to say I told you guys so, but I told you guys so. There's a reason why the guild was so adamant in Volume 18 about, you know, the whole situation with the Loki Familia. I'm not going to get into too much spoilers regarding Volume 18, but you guys already know where I'm going from there in regards to Loki Familia and the guild, of course, in regards to Volume 18. But basically, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm hoping that there is a continuation. It would be very interesting to see how the continuation would be. But yeah, that's about it. Now, my thoughts in regards to the story, right? I personally believe this was expected. I'm sorry, I don't know what anybody else was expecting, but this was kind of predictable, to be quite honest. Especially more so this situation, rather than this direction of the story going around. I mean, the moment Bell falls out of love with Ryu or anybody, or falls out of love with Ice, and falls in love with anybody, be it Haruhime, Lily, Hestia, whoever it may be, you're gonna get into this position where Bell will lose BELLxRYU Freeze. And BELLxRYU Freeze, look, I had this discussion on a live stream recently on YouTube, by the way, which you can go and check out, of course, and I was planning on making this a video, but we actually discussed about whether Bell was talented or not. And obviously Omori sensei is kind of doubling down on the whole talentless point here, kind of. Obviously Bell does have a talent, I feel. I don't think he's talentless, but he is not a talent monster like AIs or Ryu, in fact. Well, let's be real there, right? Let's be brutally honest and get that point straight up. Bell is not a talent monster. He is somewhat talented, but not a talent monster, which would make him like a sort of like a average to slightly above average sort of adventurer at most, right? And the thing is, BELLxRYU Freeze just exponentially makes that talent go up massively. It's a cheat code, effectively, right? And the thing is, right, I was hoping that would not be the case with this, but it does seem like Omori's kind of doubling down on that fact, basically, with this story, which is a damn shame, but it is true. I mean, we've kind of known this for a very long time, that Bell, without BELLxRYU Freeze, is pretty much just an average to above average adventure at most. He's not an expert, he's not an exceptional adventurer, he's not somebody who's going to just revolutionize, you know, the entire himself and just everybody around him. He is, if without BELLxRYU Freese, he's just another adventurer basically, right? Of course, like I said, he does still have talent. I'm not saying he doesn't have any talent whatsoever. The fact that he got to level the fifth floor in 2 weeks time, of course we know that the whole Minotaur happened and everything, but he got to floor 5 in 2 weeks. He's able to learn really well. He's got good combat skills and everything, but it does help having BELLxRYU Freese tremendously. Even it definitely does help. Now my issue with this what if, right, I love the fact that we got a what if with Bell and Ryu. It's lovely, it's absolutely lovely. But my main issue isn't actually the fact that it's a bleak ending or anything of that sort. In fact, I feel like it's fine in regards to the context of everything. The fact that it started after the events of volume 14, you know, with Bell developed and everything, this was going to happen. When you have characters such set in stone and everything, giving them a sudden change will change everything around them, right? Now, what would have made this story a lot better, in my personal opinion, and a proper what if, is if it had gone way back in time. If it gone way back in time and Mori Sensei started from the beginning. Instead of Bell being saved by Eyes, get him saved by Ryu. That would have made this a lot better, because then BELLxRYU Freese, or whatever the skill would have been called at the time, would have been linked to Ryu instead, which would have made the story actually made sense and actually work. What this does is that it basically now says that from this point onwards in the canon story, which of course we already knew that was going to happen, that the end goal was always Eyes and Bell, but this definitely just doubles down on the fact that Bell and Eyes are the only pairing to happen. You cannot support any other pairing basically, which in a way is kind of unfortunate, because it definitely does affect the community negatively, because now, you know, a lot of people who were aiming to write fanfics about Bell and Ryu, you know, might get demotivated. Fans might get demotivated. They might no longer be interested in the franchise anymore. I know a lot of people were also saying that why did he do something like this? It's gonna hurt the sales of the you know, the franchise and stuff, and I can understand that, but I feel like, I mean, it was inevitable in my personal opinion. This kind of story was inevitable. The way he structured it was inevitable. Now of course, like I said, if it was starting from the very beginning, and of course we had all the plot changes on the planet to lean towards Ryu, absolutely would have worked. But that's not what happened here, unfortunately. That's simply just not what happened here, unfortunately. Let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say in the comment section down below, because I know a lot of people are very annoyed about the fact that, you know, it's a very bleak ending, and basically if it's not Bell and Eyes, then that means everybody just dies and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it necessarily says everybody dies. A lot of people do die, but it does seem like basically if Bell and Eyes don't end up together, we lose a lot of people potentially, and we lose a lot of main characters potentially. So yeah, pretty much that's about it. So the part about, okay, so third Machina, let's start reading the comments basically. So the part about OEBD going on a rampage is certain in this route, but how it goes and how it ends is up in the air. Chrome Shadows replies, we know it's going to massacre the world when it breaks out of the seal, but we know a lot of people are gonna die and Bell and Ryu will be separated. However, what happens after that point is left up in the air. It does say that they will eventually meet again despite all of this. Whether it means something good or bad is left up in the air, but the world is more likely going to be wrecked in either scenario, which feels pretty bad end-like. Well, so this is one of the reasons why I think that the drama CD that's coming up, where Bell travels to the past and meets Aliza and everything, makes a lot of sense, because it says that they will eventually meet again despite all this, and whether it means good or bad is left up in the air. I think that means that the drama CD is going to be a continuation of this what if story potentially. But yeah, though I can see why it feels bad and like, but though I probably didn't get that impression, because I think I've watched read/played multi-route stories where one route ends up in a chaos scenario. Though it doesn't guarantee a bad end, the good end will still be hard-earned in the process. I also realized that given how Bell would probably be level 6 or 7 by the supposedly intended hookup in canon, he's still gonna be underwhelmed by the dragon comes out. Did they specify when the dragon shows up in the what if? I don't think that's been specified, but I assume he's talking about like level 6 or 7 when he gets together with Eyes basically. But yeah, there's a possibility they could come back from this if Omori gets to writing that one day, but I admit it feels pretty harsh since it's likely in canon it's going to be an idealistic ending because Bell is that type of hero. But also another thing is that Bell is also going to be probably a lot more stronger because there's still a lot of time left, it seems like, right? We are only 6 months in the timeline. You know, Omori sensei has this like 1 year timeline of the entire story. We're only 6 months in, 6 months to go. He's gonna get like to level 8 or 9 at the very least. Obviously, I still feel like, you know, it's gonna be very tricky considering even the Zeus and Hera familiars couldn't beat the OEBD with their level 8, 9s and multiple level 7s. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the thing is, right, I want to also talk a little bit about BELLxRYU Freese again, just really quickly before we go any forward from here, before we get into the other comments, right, is a lot of people feel like, you know, BELLxRYU Freese tied to eyes is very weird and wrong, right? But the thing is, you give this to any other, like if Bell had any other character save him or him being dedicated to any other character, it would have been the same situation where it would have been linked to that character particularly. If you take a look at the what if in Danmimo, right, or well the what if after the events of Astray Record Part 3, wherein basically Zard and Althea effectively help raise Bell, right? Bell becomes dedicated to the point where he wants to become Althea's hero, basically. That's his form of BELLxRYU Freese, and that's probably what he would have gotten once he got his Falna and everything, is that he would have gotten a skill where he's basically dedicated to being a hero, a worthy hero for Althea, basically. That's what would have happened most likely at the end of it all. So that's something to bear in mind as well, is that it's just linked to a character more so than anything else. So let's take a look at. Thank you for your hard work. Okay, audience, the poster of this post also said thank you for the hard work. Soul Warfare says, I am a Bell Ice shipper, but even I think the ending to this what if story feels like in bad taste. Did the author really need to suggest a bad ending if Bell got with Ryu? Like, the hell? I think the problem is the way it's structured, and the way it started, the point of which it started at. I think if you had started it like way early on in the story, like when Bell just became an adventurer and started the Bell and Ryu shipping together there, I think it would have been fine. But the point of the matter is that Bell is a character that has a character revolved around him. The moment you strip away that character and, you know, you put them together, it's going to be a very tricky situation wherein Bell is going to lose a lot of what made him, and obviously in this situation a lot of what made him was BELLxRYU Freese in this case. He didn't get an alternative. There was no alternative skill to give him that same level of growth that BELLxRYU Freese gave him. And the thing is, right, is that by the time the OEBD breaks out, which we know is the end goal, there's nobody ready for this situation. Not Bell, not anybody. And that becomes a little bit of a problem, basically. It's unfortunate because it gives Toxic Ice fans a lot more gas to basically reach a sort of anonymity. Basically it gives them a lot of fuel basically to be toxic to other Ryu fans and just generally other fans of other shipping fans, basically, right? But it's how it is, unfortunately. And I mean, it's gonna be either way. Like, if you had made Bell and Ryu way too good, then it would have been giving, you know, toxic Ryu fans the opportunity to gas the Ice fans. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate both ways. It would have been wrong, to be quite honest. Honestly, the biggest thing to me is that I really hope Omori nails the end of the series if this is how Bell and Ryu will go. This what if story reeks of bitterness that people aren't enjoying your main canon ship. No, I don't necessarily think so. I personally don't believe that to be the case. I understand that point, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Because, to be honest, the start of it seems good, right? The first 2 points is very nice. It's everybody's happy, everybody's good. Then things start to go downhill a little bit because, yes, BELLxRYU Freese will go and stuff like that. We know this. And I think in a normal world, right? In a normal world, BELLxRYU Freese going away wouldn't have mattered whatsoever. But we know that the OEBD is the ending. We know that there is a threat bigger than anything else in the world at the end of it all. And if the main two protagonists that are known to be linked with the OEBD in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, Bell less so, more so Eyes. And Bell doesn't have a care about the OEBD anymore, and you're one ticket to potentially beating the OEBD, because let's be real, Bell is their ticket with BELLxRYU Freese and everything to beating the OEBD. Then it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. This is unexpected. Well, no, sorry. This is expected. It is not unexpected, I should say. It is not unexpected at all that this would be the ending. You could argue that this is absolutely fine. This what if, this first 4 points is absolutely fine. It's just a case of this ending is unfortunately what would happen anyways, sadly to say. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see even more death and destruction in the normal canon story as well, obviously to a lesser degree maybe compared to what happens in this what if story, but I expect to see a similar amount nonetheless, because the OEBD is just that much of a threat anyways, right? He is that much of a threat anyways. All right, let's take a look here. Thank you for your work. I guess Otaro, Eyes, and the Loki familiar really needed the rabbit, who will be most likely a level 8 or 9, I would say, not 7, to beat the OEBD. This is bad, and if this foreshadows a 1v1 between Bell and OEBD, this anime will have a shitty Soul Eater level ending. No, I don't think it'll be a 1v1. It's also just more so, like I said, Bell will be there to rally everybody, and especially with Eyes talking about the OEBD, once she's able to open up about the OEBD, I think you know, everybody will be in that position to be like, okay, there is a threat with this dragon, and I assume it'll just get things going more so than anything else. I mean, you'll have characters working together to get to a higher level. The moment you see, and the thing is, one thing that helps Bell, right, and the rest of OUTRAGE, is that everybody's looking at Bell's exponential growth in shock and awe, right? And when you see somebody getting that strong, you are also motivated to get that strong. When you see that person all of a sudden just going like this, or like this, and then just like that, like just plateauing, it becomes a little bit of a problem. If it's just like this, right, it becomes a little bit of a problem where people are not as motivated anymore about the fact that, you know, oh, this guy is, you know, not becoming as strong as we thought he would become, you know. So I think that's the biggest problem, more so than anything else, to be quite honest. Ryu fans acting surprised the whole series gets derailed when one of the main reasons for the MC moving forward and getting stronger changes. Absolutely, I don't understand this at all. Like, I understand this is dark, a bit dark and bitter, but actions have consequences. You can't just change something major and expect everything to be sunshine and rainbows. It's like saying the Roman Empire never exists and then being perplexed at the fact that world history shifts dramatically. Also, who doesn't like dark endings? They are fun. I mean, true, very true. First of all, I don't care what the 2D character, what this 2D character ends up with. While it is true that we don't get enough dark endings, especially in this LN, but come on, regretting their love, what the fuck is this? Also, I think Bell will be the strongest in OUTRAGE, but he is only one worry that he won't have that much of an effect. I mean, like I said, everybody gets rallied by the fact that there's somebody growing stronger. There's a reason why you're seeing Eyes also wanting to get stronger. If she sees Bell is getting weaker, that also destroys her motivation as well. She's like, okay, I'm going at a normal pace then, surprisingly, funnily enough. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird in that regards, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, it's about it, to be quite honest. Let's see if there's any other comment here that I want to take a look at. I do wonder if it isn't just the levels Bell needs, but also the relationship with Eyes in order to save her, especially if Eyes is faced with the possibility that Arya can't be saved and Eyes has to sacrifice Arya in order to kill the dragon. I think she would need Bell to be her anchor in order to be able to do that. Yes, I mean, that's also, like I said, I think there's a lot more factors than just Bell when it comes to defeating the OEBD. It's not a 1v1. It's not, I am 100% sure about that fact at this point in time, that it's not going to be a 1v1. Based on the way that the story is going, and obviously Eyes' importance to the OEBD and everything, it's not going to be a 1v1. Are we going to see it potentially being sort of like a pseudo 1v1 where Eyes uses maybe her spirit powers and stuff, right? Possibly, but I don't see it necessarily being a true 1v1 where it's Bell versus OEBD only at this point. But yeah, let's take a look at this one. Okay, I want to read this. I want to read Hedwig the I. This is, I think, going to be the last comment we read. Or Hedwig the Yi. Sorry, my bad. We'll read this as the last comment, and then I'm going to wrap up this video. Okay, this is interesting. I can definitely understand the panic people had with the initial spoilers and lack of context. Even I agree with that. From what I can gather, this what if story only occurs if Belle falls in love with Ryu much later on in the story. Yes, right. And as a result, a lot of the future events will be greatly affected by this change, most notably his lack of Liara's freeze. The parts with Freya and giving her Belle and Ryu her blessing is nice, and the part where Belle and Ryu meet Astrea with was nice as well. The part with the OEBD is definitely pretty harsh though, and it definitely gives this bad end kind of feel. Though the thought of Danmachi having an apocalyptic event happening and the rest of the story focusing on the aftermath would be definitely interesting. I agree with that actually. I would like to see that what if as well. I could see the rest of the what if showing how Belle and Ryu try to survive in this devastated world by gathering surviving gods and adventurers, setting up survival camps, and finding a way to rescue as many people as possible, and you know, so slowly building up their forces again in a massive pushback like in Knights of Fianna. Hey, that would be actually kind of cool. That is very true. That is also very, very possible. You know, it is very possible to happen for something like that to happen. Maybe Amori's added this to build up the OEBD, but even then I do feel bad for the BELLxRYU fans, myself included, since we expected a nice what if side story and got a really dark ending out of it. But yeah, I think that's unfortunate for sure, right? I do think that's going to be a bit of a problem. I feel sorry for some of the BELLxRYU fans. I mean, you guys got some nice parts to it, of course, right? But yeah, it's unfortunate. But either way, if there's any time to start adding more Belle to eyes now, then it has to happen now. Especially with the OEBD arc now picking up. I mean, yeah, right now I mean, the thing is, right, we're going into the education district arc next, so I don't think it's necessarily going to be eyes next. I think it might end up being Lafia, to be quite honest, first and foremost. The relationship between Belle and Lafia picking up more so. But yeah, Belle and eyes together, moments need to start happening more often now. Even I agree. I think so far it's been okay. I've not been the most fussiest about it, to be quite honest, but I know a lot more people have been really annoyed at the fact that Eyes has just been relegated to SO more often than not, and her moments with Belle as well relegated to SO. It can't be like that anymore, you know, it can't be like that anymore. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. That sounds like it would have been a cool anniversary idea for Danmimo. Instead, we got SO12 and this what if on the side. True. Very, very true. Very, very true. But yeah, I think overall it's very interesting. Of course, if you guys want to read more of the comments, you guys can come down to this Reddit post and see for yourselves. Like I said, I'll be leaving a link to it in the description down below. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments regarding this Ryu what if spoilers. Of course, I'm very curious to see if you guys liked it, disliked it. What do you guys think about what I think? You know, maybe I'm wrong a little bit as well. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Remember to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.